may be an identification with time or with mind, but I'm still struggling with the idea that I am always aware, especially in terms of deep sleep. I've never been conscious of being aware during deep sleep. And what's been going on has been this suggestion, if you like, that I cannot really know that I am awareness until I have experienced being aware during deep sleep.
Are you aware now?
Yes.
Are you aware that you are aware now?
Yes.
Why do you have to wait to be aware in deep sleep to be certain that you are aware of being aware? It's your experience now.
I don't. It's just I accept all of that, but I still feel that if there are times when I'm not aware of that.
Okay, so let's explore the times when you are not aware. Tell us about those times.
I can't because I'm not aware of them.
Well, then why do you claim them as your experience then? You're claiming an experience called deep sleep, but when I ask you about it, you say, I have no experience of it.
That's right. All I have is an experience.
Well, then what are you referring to as deep sleep? You're obviously not referring to your experience, because if it was your experience, you would be aware of it.
I'm aware that there is a time lapse between going to sleep and waking up.
When are you aware of that time lapse?
When I wake up.
So you're relying on what the waking state mind tells you about an experience during which it was not present.
Yes.
Is that reliable? What can the waking state mind tell you about deep sleep?
Nothing.
And yet you're relying on it. What you've said is based upon what the waking state mind is telling you about your experience in deep sleep. So leave what the waking state mind says on one side, because we know the waking state mind is not at all reliable. It doesn't always get things right. So refer to your actual experience of being aware. When I say your experience, I'm talking to awareness, because awareness is the only one that is aware. So now refer to awareness's experience of itself, which we all know now as the experience, I am aware. Has that experience ever ceased in your experience? Have you ever had the experience of the absence of awareness?
No.
Well, okay. If you've never had the experience of the absence of awareness, what makes you think there is such a thing as the absence of awareness?
Again, it's just the lapse of time between...
It's a belief. It's a belief that the waking state mind has formed. The waking state mind has noticed, I, the mind, was not present. And it misinterprets that experience and says, awareness must have been absent. No, it's the waking state mind that was absent. It's the waking state mind that is presuming that awareness was not present. It's the mind that was not present. Every time a thought comes to an end, the mind disappears. By mind, I just mean now, not mind in the general sense of thinking, sensing and perceiving. I'm meaning it in the more specific sense of just thinking and imagining. That's all there is to the mind. So when a thought comes to an end, the mind comes to an end, yes?
Yes.
And then a new thought appears. So let's call the first thought, thought number 1. It disappears. Then thought number 2 appears. It disappears, and then thought number 3 appears. Yes? Now, is thought number 1, are thought number 1, 2, and 3 known by the same awareness or by a different awareness?
The same.
They're the same. So what happens to that awareness when thought number 1 disappears?
Nothing.
Nothing. And there is a gap between the disappearance of thought number 1 and the appearance of thought number 2. There is a discontinuity of thought. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
But there is no discontinuity of awareness. Awareness remains present underneath, but there is a discontinuity in the thoughts. Yes? Now, in order for there to be the experience of time, there must be thought. You can't have time without thought. Yes? So, thought can say a thought lasts a certain length of time. But when the thought comes to an end, in this gap between thought number 1 and thought number 2, how much time is present there? Thought number 1 takes 5 seconds. Thought number 2 takes 7 seconds. Now, how long is there in the gap between these two thoughts?
No, there isn't any.
There's no time.
No.
Okay. So now, instead of thinking thought number 1 lasts for 5 seconds, thought number 2 lasts for 7 seconds, and there's no time or eternity in between the two, think instead of the dream state. Lasts not for 5 seconds, let's say for 5 minutes. The dream state comes to an end. That's the end of one series of thoughts. Then the next dream state begins. That's the beginning of dream state number 2. Instead of lasting for 7 seconds, it lasts for 7 minutes. Now, what takes place in between the two dream states?
Nothing.
No. Awareness, the two dream states, the one that you had at night and the one that you had before waking up in the morning, are both known by the same awareness. Yes? Like the two thoughts are both known by the same awareness. So in between the two dream states, just as in between the two thoughts, there's a discontinuity of mind, but awareness continues underneath. Yes? How much time is there between the two dream states?
None.
That's deep sleep. Because there's no mind there. In other words, deep sleep is not in time. It doesn't last for 3 hours. In deep sleep there is no mind, there is no time. So deep sleep takes the same amount of time as there is between one thought and another. In other words, it doesn't take time. That's why your experience of deep sleep feels timeless. Doesn't deep sleep feel timeless to you? The moment you fall asleep is the moment you wake up. People that go have anesthesia report the same thing. The moment they fall asleep is the moment they wake up. Because in between, it's eternity. It's timeless. The mind, the waking state mind, then looks at the clock and sees that it's now 7:30. The last time I looked at the clock, it was 1:30. Therefore, 6 hours must have elapsed during that time. But that's just a story that the waking state mind makes up. It's not in line with our experience. Our experience is that, in fact, even during the presence of thoughts or dreams, which are both a state of the mind, there is no actual time present. There is just the belief in time. But from awareness's point of view, which is the only real point of view, it is eternally present now. There is no time for awareness. This now is the only now there has ever been. Even when we say there has ever been, implies that this now has lasted forever. But there is no forever. There is no lasting in time. This now is the only now there is. It is eternity. It is out of time. Time is something that appears, time is one dimension of thought which appears in this zero-dimensional presence of awareness. Awareness itself has no dimensions. And yet the one dimension of time and this 3 dimensions of space appear in that dimensionless presence and are made out of it. That's not so strange. When you have a dream at night, from a relative point of view, the dream takes place in time, yes? When you have a dream, from a relative point of view, it takes place in time. The dream doesn't take place in space, yes? The world you dream about at night doesn't take place in physical space. Yeah? It takes place in one dimension of time. So even from a normal point of view, the 3-dimensional dreamed world takes place in one dimension of waking state time. Isn't that amazing? The 3-dimensional dreamed world takes place in a single dimension of mind, time. All I'm suggesting is just take another step and see that the mind, the single dimension of mind and the 3-dimensional world all take place in this dimensionless awareness. I can feel that we're not quite meeting.
I still have this, I suppose, I just still have this block that if I am always aware of myself and deep sleep is a reality in this world,
Yes.
how is it that I am not aware of myself in deep sleep?
Let me try another approach, which makes more of a concession to your point of view. The waking state, we seem to experience something, things that seem not to be awareness, yes, like objects and minds. Are you with me?
Yes.
By contrast, deep sleep seems to be nothing, no things. So the waking state we experience something, in deep sleep we experience nothing. Yeah? Now, we can't explore our experience during deep sleep. But during the waking state, if you explore your experience and discover that this something or this collection of things is not really a collection of things, it's not really a collection of objects. In other words, the somethingness of the waking state gradually thins out as we explore its reality, as we discover that it's actually made of consciousness, not made of matter. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now, in direct correspondence to the dissolution or the thinning out of the somethingness of the waking state, so there will be a corresponding thinning out of the nothingness of deep sleep.
Yes, that's becoming clearer now. Yes.
Yeah. So explore the apparent somethingness of the waking state and discover that there are no things there made out of matter. It's pure consciousness. And as an inevitable consequence of that discovery, that nothingness will also dissolve. In other words, the somethingness of the waking state was superimposed onto pure awareness in exactly the same way that the nothingness of deep sleep is superimposed onto pure awareness.